I know we're going to get into the possible rule changes, and a lot of teams, they submit them. The competition committee will look at them. At the end of the day, owners have to vote 75%. So according to my Niagara Falls math, that's 24 out of 32.
Very good.
But it's interesting, like the teams like the Chiefs, and I understand that they felt like maybe they should have got the ball in overtime, but that's the rule, and the Chiefs want to make sure that both teams touch the ball. Well, there's a thing called playing defense. So it's interesting, the timing of this.
Oh, of course. Happens all the time.
You're right, exactly. And then this new possible onside kick is fascinating to me. We'll get into it.
Absolutely. First things first, though, the news of the day, and apparently people are listening. Important people, MJ, to this very show here. Because on Wednesday, what do we discuss? Yeah, we discussed the Cardinals' need at defensive line. On Thursday, the very next day, Cardinals signed Darius Philon, one of the better D linemen on the market, and one of the names that we threw out there on Wednesday's show. So much like the Cliff Kingsbury hire, we're going to take partial credit for the Cardinals adding a defensive lineman here in free agency.
Well, what do they say? Let's go back to the tape.
Exactly.
We actually mentioned a few names.
Yes, we did.
But we went down the list, and he was the third guy we mentioned.
He was on the list.
He was. And you look at him, he started 13 games last year. He's a guy that, if you look at since he's been in the league and you got some numbers to back it up, his snap count has gone up every single year. Now it's just a matter of finding a spot for him, and I would say he's a plug-and-play guy. This may be one of the more underrated signings just because it didn't steal the headlines. It didn't happen right away. Of course, we all look at Jordan Hicks in a 4-year deal and Robert Alford a 3-year deal and J.R. Sweezy a 2-year deal, and everyone else is getting a 1-year deal, and he gets a 2-year deal. So I like it. We know that they need defensive lineman, and he's a guy that can play nose tackle. He can slide out and play defensive end in a 3-4. So between him and Corey Peters, and they got to continue to add to that position.
Yeah, because of the question mark with regards to Robert Nkemdiche, when and if is he going to be healthy come week 1? You don't know that, but here is someone who has been healthy, a former 6th-round draft pick of the then San Diego Chargers back in 2015. Philon, one, has improved every single season as far as the metrics are concerned. Pro Football Focus has graded him very, very well. And the other thing is he's played. He's been durable. He ended last season appearing in 43 consecutive games, including a couple of postseason games. Overall, 54 games, 19 starts, started 13 of 16 games last season. And by all accounts, the Chargers weren't real happy to lose him, and there were other teams interested in him. 6'1", 300 pounds, and someone that you said can slot in right next to Corey Peters, and I would expect right now to be a starter on that defensive line. Still needs some help there, but certainly a good addition here as we kind of get now into the second, third wave, if you will, as far as free agency is concerned.
Yeah, it's only March 22nd. The Cardinals don't line up this Sunday, so they'll address these needs. Now, talking to a scout, very disruptive. You could see if you got a chance to watch us in the video. Very disruptive. Really accelerates at the point of attack. His motor's always going. And I remember that game from when Corey Cunningham was going against Melvin Ingram, and he shut him down. And obviously the Cardinals felt like, maybe we're going to get Corey some help, but other guys were able to make some plays. But I like the fact that he's in, as you mentioned, he's gotten better every single year. You're starting to see the snap count go up. And now it's a fact that he's going to be a part of this defense. And the Cardinals have added 5 starters on defense, okay? And they got 5 returning starters from a year ago. So obviously the odd man out right now is we still need to find a defensive end. And in their base defense, they'll play a 3-4. The secondary, to me, is set starter-wise, but who becomes that nickel corner? So whether it's a nickel corner or you take somebody out of the game, we know this team is going to have to try to get a nickel corner, and you wonder if that's going to come in the draft. So they've added 5 starters just in free agency, and I'm including Swearinger. They've added 3 role guys in Josh Shaw, Brooks Reed, and Tanner Vallejo. So they're more depth guys, special teams guys. So not only did they add 5 starters, they added 3 other guys that can have a rotation, depth, or will play on special teams. And then you get 5 starters coming back from last year, and we're talking household names here. Chandler Jones, Patrick Peterson, you throw in Budda Baker, Hassan Reddick, and I'm missing some.
Corey
Peters. So those are the 5 returning, and they added 5 starters. So, again, I like what they're doing.
Yeah, some more numbers on Philon. 9.5 career sacks, 4 of those coming last season when he recorded 33 tackles, 7 for loss, and certainly someone that I think the Cardinals are very fortunate to get here at this point in free agency. It's a 2-year contract worth a reported $10 million, $5 million of which is guaranteed. Here is Philon not only signing his contract, but speaking exclusively to azcardinals.com.
Darius Philon, I've been in the league 4 years, going on 5. And my experience in the NFL has been great. It's a blessing to be able to play the sport that I love. Long process. I mean, days and nights. I was just training and then got a call from my agent that said Arizona wanted to bring you aboard. And I'm happy to be aboard. I want everybody to know that this is where I'm going to be from here on out, and this is what we're going to work on, making the Cardinals better. Vince Joseph, defensive coordinator, guys were really highly of me. I mean, he's seen me twice a year, so of course he knew what I did. He knew my ability, and at the end of the day, he knew what I was capable of doing on the field. My style of play, I'm more of a penetrating defensive tackle, make plays on the other side of the line of scrimmage. I mean, they're gaining a guy with a nice character, good ability to play the sport, and then I'm also all about the kids and just doing what I need to do to reach back to people that don't have as many opportunities I had, the chances that I had. I'm proud to be an Arizona Cardinal.
Also told azcardinals.com with regards to his style of play, quote, basically be a wrecking crew, unquote. And it's interesting that he noted Vance Joseph, because we always talk, and everyone does it, you try to connect the dots. Okay, who did they coach prior to their new team? And with the Cardinals, there was a lot of defensive guys with Vance Joseph. And all of a sudden, okay, how many Broncos now would come to the Cardinals? Well, there's another aspect of this. How many times, and Philon mentioned it, Broncos play the Chargers twice a year. So that's 2 opportunities that staff saw him, and he did enough against the Broncos in those 2 games to now where he's on the free agent market. Cardinals are looking at defensive linemen, and Joseph sits there and goes, you know what? I think he would be someone that we should take a look at. Cardinals did like what they saw and came to an agreement.
Yeah, and what's refreshing for me, and I know these guys are excited. I mean, Robert Alford, he told us on this show that, he didn't want to wait, and he was excited. He was being recruited by Patrick Peterson, and when he got here, he liked everything he was able to see from the facilities, the vision this organization had. We had Jordan Hicks here. I can't tell you how many times he said he was excited. And then Terrell Suggs, obviously, we know that it should have happened a long time ago. I mean, all these guys are excited, and they once they walk in the building, yes, we are coming off a 3-13 season. It was brutal. But you got to put that in the rearview mirror now. But it's just encouraging to me, and we know because we live it every day in this building. There is a lot of excitement, but you're also seeing it from the players. And I know that a lot of these guys are getting paid, but at the end of the day, it's about their families, it's about fit, and it's about coming to an organization they think is on the rise, and that's encouraging to me. I'm not putting words in anybody's mouth. I'm not asking questions to where I'm trying to get the answers. You're hearing this from the heart, and I think that's important to know.
Absolutely. It's an important signing, a key signing. Defensive line coach Chris Akoff, the assistant D-line coach a year ago, he recently spoke about the need of having big bodies along that defensive line.
Still going to have a nose tackle, and I think then your other 2 pieces that you put in there are going to be part of the defensive line. They're going to be athletic, but they still need some big bodies. They can't be lightweight guys because they're going to have to be able to handle double teams. They got to be able to handle, the single blocks of playing as a 4 eyes a tackle or a 3 technique, however you're going to line him up. And they've got to be physical, and they've got to provide some punch, and they still have to be able to rush the quarterback.
And, of course, Philon fits all of that, 6'1", 300 pounds. That was Akoff from February when Kingsbury officially introduced his entire coaching staff. So appreciate those comments from him. And, again, everything looks good on paper now, and you're hearing everything very positive. Of course, we've got to wait to see how it looks on the field, but from what the Cardinals have done so far, you got to be very encouraged. And that buzz that we keep hearing and what Jordan Hicks brought up, yeah, you can start to not only hear more people talking about it, but you can feel it as well.
Yeah, and, Chris Akoff, I don't think he got a lot of pub last year, and he deserved it. And the Cardinals brought in Don Johnson. He was out of football for a few years. Obviously, Steve Wilkes, worked with him with at the time, the San Diego Chargers. And Akoff was like the assistant D-line coach. And we're out there for the first 20 minutes of practice, and they go through these drills, and he literally gets his hand and his knees in the dirt, and he's on the sled, and he's encouraging these guys. And we're talking linebackers and defensive linemen. So I like the fact that he was able to interview with Cliff Kingsbury, and they kept him on because I think he's really an underrated coach, and I just like the way he coaches these guys. And if you get a chance to go to training camp, I mean, you don't want to have too many yellers on your staff because you want to have the right voices and correcting and teaching, and that's what coaching's about. But I like the way he goes about his business, and if a guy's not doing the right technique, he's going to let him know. It's not to embarrass him. He wants him to get better. So you're going to hear about this guy. I know that we don't talk about coaches during the season, but I think these guys will get coached up by Chris Akoff.
One other note with regards to the Cardinals roster, tight end Ricky Seals-Jones signed his one-year contract for the upcoming season. He had been tendered earlier in the month, so now he is officially on board. Another key position, the tight end position, because we all expect Kingsbury to utilize the tight end in his offense. So Seals-Jones, and certainly expecting a lot more from him than what we saw in 2018, even though he put up career numbers. But I think everyone's expecting all numbers offensively to go up in 2019.
Yeah, he's got to stay healthy. That's important because you got to be durable, and availability is huge. And then the other thing, I want him to get stronger, in the upper body, but he has the physical attributes. Obviously played tight end in college. He comes here and they move him right to wide receiver, so in its adjustment. But I think in Kingsbury's offense, and don't forget about Charles Clay, I do think the Cardinals will keep 3 tight ends on the 53-man roster, whether it's John Phillips or somebody else that can block. And then I think they're going to overload at wide receiver. I think they could keep possibly 7. That's just me connecting the dots on how much they want to use their receivers. But I like the 2 guys right now, the depth chart. You can never have enough, and I think they'll bring 6 to camp, and maybe they'll have a guy in the practice squad.
A couple of more college pro days happened earlier today, LSU and also Kentucky. With LSU, of course, the big news is the fact that cornerback Greedy Williams, why are you laughing, MJ? He told reporters that he's heard from the Raiders, the Buccaneers, and the Cardinals.
That's awesome. I mean, you got to do your due diligence. He's the top corner in the draft. So you're telling me there's a chance?
I'm just saying, not with the number 1 overall pick, but I'll just keep all positions open.
Okay, let's deal with the hypothetical. They move down to number 5. I mean, he is the best corner, but I still think there's better options. And I don't have any idea if they're going to trade out of the first
especially
spot.
along the defensive line.
Yeah, so again, they need a nickel corner. I don't know if you can invest a first-round pick on a nickel corner because you're paying Peterson, and he's only got 2 years left on his deal. He would like to get an extension, whether it's this upcoming season or next offseason, at least hopefully for his sake and the organization. He's still in his prime. And you got Robert Alford. I mean, it's a lot of money invested there, and we know how important that defense is when you got 2 cover corners. So, listen, the more the merrier, but I think there's bigger needs. And I know best available player, and he's worthy of being a high pick, not to me in the top 5 or top 10.
Well, another one of those players that is worthy of a high pick is linebacker Josh Allen out of Kentucky, and he was spotted at Kentucky's Pro Day, speaking with Cardinals cornerbacks coach Greg Williams. Allen also said he was planning to meet with the Raiders and Giants, so you're going to hear more and more of this, and anytime you hear it, look, everyone's doing their due diligence. Most of the bigger pro days, all 32 teams are in attendance, and if a team is not, then you can always get some information after the fact. And, of course, there are those visits that you can do, 30 at your own facility, unless, of course, you're talking about the local schools within your area, then those don't count.
All right, another hypothetical. Let's say the Giants want to move up or whatever, okay, 6 and 17. Well, maybe you consider Greedy Williams at 17. So you do your due diligence. He is one. I'm sure they're going to have him highly ranked on their board. But again, there's other needs here. And it's funny you mentioned some of the teams that he's going to visit, referring to Josh Allen, the outside linebacker. Now, he does drop back into coverage. Bosa's more of a pass rusher. And then Quentin Williams is more of a three-technique defensive tackle. Now, John Lynch has come out and said if they keep the second overall pick, they're going best available player, regardless of position. Okay, so everyone just thinks it's going to be Bosa because they drafted Eric Armstead, DeForest Buckner, Solomon Thomas. Quentin Williams, to me, is going to be probably a 12-year player, and it wouldn't surprise me if he's an all-pro 3 or 4 times, probably 4 or 5, 6 Pro Bowls. Again, he has to show it, but we all just pencil in Nick Bosa going to the Niners. And then the Jets sit at 3, and they just went out and got C.J. Mosley. They're moving on from Darren Lee, a former first-round pick. He would be ideal there. But who's dropping? I mean, let's just say the Cardinals stay at 1. If they go offense, which obviously would be a quarterback if. So is Williams go 2, Josh Allen go 3, is Nick Bosa go 4? I mean, it's interesting. I think those 4 guys right now are the top players in the draft. And I don't mean to be redundant, but Bob Ferguson, former general manager, always told me, don't worry about the teams, Mike. Just rank the top 5 players, and you'll see how they go off the board. Because the Jets, they already got their franchise quarterback. If somebody can wow them, I think if the Cardinals don't move out of the first pick, that's when the draft's going to start at number 3 with the Jets, because they could move down. And is somebody moving up for Dwayne Haskins? Is somebody moving up for Nick Bosa? Somebody moving up for Josh Allen? I think if the Cardinals or the Niners don't trade out, the draft really could start with the New York Jets.
Well, I think there could be a lot of movement on that first day with regards to teams jockeying to try to leapfrog one team over another. But that defense, especially the front 7, very, very deep because the 3 names that you mentioned, all 3 different positions. You got and Nick Bosa, if it's the Cardinals, you turn him into an outside linebacker, but you said he's more rushing the quarterback, not much experience dropping into coverage. So you have a DN.
Allen has done that in college.
So you have an outside linebacker, Bosa, which could be both, and then an interior lineman in Quentin Williams, who has certainly impressed a lot of people, especially with his footwork.
And you've seen Montez Sweat move up. Now, I didn't really know a lot about him going to the combine, but I did talk to a scout, and he said there's one game, you pop in the film, and this guy's like all over the field. And then you watch 2 games, and he makes a play here and a play there. So I don't know about the consistent part. But, again, he's a pass rusher. I think he's more of a 4-3 defensive end. He could play outside linebacker in a 3-4. But I don't see enough there. But according to the people that study this and watch more film than me and talk to more people than me, he could be like 5 or 6 off the board, again, because he can rush the passer. There's a premium for those guys because let's look at our division. Somehow, some way, you're going to have to contain Russell Wilson in that running game now. Jimmy Garoppolo, when healthy, could be productive. And then we know about Jared Goff in that offense. You got to be able to get to the quarterback in this division.
Absolutely. So a lot of still to come as far as with the draft coming up on April 25th. Now, coming up next week, the annual league meetings right here in Phoenix, Sunday through Wednesday. And the big news we're expecting is rule changes and what might be new coming in 2019. Several proposals on the table, many of which have to deal with instant replay. But before we get into that discussion, I want to pass along some of the team proposals with regards to overtime and the onside kick. The first one is the overtime rule, and that is something that I know, MJ, you kind of touched on as well. But this was something that the Kansas City Chiefs have proposed, and it's a 3-part proposal. But the biggest one is allowing both teams to possess the ball at least one time in overtime, which, of course, the Chiefs were unable to do in the AFC Championship when they lost to the Patriots. The other parts are eliminating overtime for the preseason. I'm sure everyone would be in favor of that.
Well, we're always screaming in the press box, go for 2.
And a lot of coaches will. And then the third one is eliminating the overtime coin toss, so the winner of the coin toss can begin either with the ball or kicking off. But, of course, that would have to be back to number 1 to make sure both teams maintain or have a possession.
All right, do you have a Sharpie?
I do, but not on me.
Because I just want to take a Sharpie and cross this out right here. I mean, I get it, but there's something about playing defense. And if they would have won and got to the Super Bowl, we're not hearing about this. I could appreciate them putting their name behind it And I'm sure there are people out there, not only Chiefs fans, but NFL fans that say both teams should touch the ball. I get that, but that's the rule. You have to play defense at some time. They could have had a pick six on Brady and won the game on a defensive play.
Well, and if you hold the team to a field goal, then that's another opportunity. So, yeah, I understand what you're saying. There is a rule, but you know that this was going to be talked about because it happens in the playoffs, high-profile game.
It's because Patrick Mahomes, and, maybe they wanted to see Patrick Mahomes versus Jared Goff. I'm not saying the NFL they're fixing these games. What I'm saying is, though, the whole hype about that offense against Sean McVay, we watched them two teams play early this season. What was it, 53-51 or something?
Yeah.
49-48. So ideally, but I think the Patriots still have cachet, even though it's a love-hate because of their dynasty. But I just think if they won that game, we're not even having this conversation right now.
The other team proposal, this is from the Denver Broncos, and this has to deal with the onside kick, and they're proposing an alternative to the onside kick that would allow a team who is trailing in the game an opportunity to maintain possession of the ball after scoring. And going in depth on this is you would allow a team once per game during the fourth quarter to play offense instead of kicking off, and you'd have to convert a 4th and 15 at your own 35. Now, the Alliance of American Football has this currently. They're asking you to convert a 4th and 12 at your own 28 if trailing by 17 or more points in the fourth quarter.
That's too much right there.
I got you.
But I'm glad you mentioned it. Okay, so 4th and 15 from the 35.
Correct.
You're trailing by 4. So you need a touchdown, it sounds like, or maybe you're trailing by 2 and you're trying to get into field goal range. 15 yards. You got to get to midfield. Risky.
Well, but if you're trailing,
I know,
and it's late in the game, there is no choice.
Yeah, but normally you get 3 set of downs to get a first down. You got to get 15 yards on one play. I know you don't get the ball. If you don't possess the ball, unless maybe you don't have the other team has, you don't have any timeouts left, so you may not possess the ball again. I guess at that point it's now or never.
All right, let me ask you this, because we know the Cardinals tried an onside kick in Kansas City. It was unsuccessful, came really, really close. It was executed well. Of course, the Chiefs defended it well, but we've seen teams, though, unsuccessful more times than not on onside kicks, to maybe they look at this proposal and say, you know what, I'll take my chances gaining 15 yards as opposed to trying to recover an onside kick.
Okay, that's true. But I like that kick. Now, when they had Bethel, they got fast guys on this team now, okay? So the Gunners I'm not worried about. I like that kick where you can kind of pooch it to the sideline. Now, you don't want it to go out of bounds for 40-yard line, game over if that's the scenario. But I like to pooch it somewhere between the 25 and the 20, and I have my guy just run down there and get it. Now, again, if I have timeouts, I'm going to put my defense on the field and try to get them 3 and out and force them to punt. But it is a strategic part of the game now. If you feel like, we do have a play in the playbook on a 4th and 15, and we got to get to midfield. I just think it's risky, but circumstances are, if you don't possess the ball and you're not going to get it back, you got to go for it.
Yeah, and that game in Kansas City, November 11th, look, the Cardinals needed
it was well executed, too.
They needed the football because we expected a high-scoring game, and they almost got it. Buda Baker almost got it, but just not quite good enough. So it wouldn't surprise me.
And they held them to 26 points.
Yeah.
And that was the first time all year that Patrick Mahomes didn't have over 300. That was an encouraging game. No more victories, but I thought they were going to go over there, possibly give up 40 or 45.
A couple of other team proposals, these dealing with instant replay. The Washington Redskins are proposing that all plays that occur during a game are subject to coaches' challenges or review by the officiating department. And this is something that Bill Belichick has mentioned several times in the past, that you should be able to review or challenge any and all plays. That one.
Do you want a 4-hour game?
Well, and that's
all right.
But you'd still be limited in far as how many challenges you have.
True. Where's the Sharpie? I need the Sharpie again for this.
The other one dealing with instant replay, and this is a combined team effort. Carolina, the Rams, Philadelphia, and Seattle. They're asking for a review of designated player safety-related fouls as plays subject to coaches' challenges in the instant replay system. So
I'm all about safety, so no Sharpie for this.
all right, but then the competition committee has come up with a couple as well, and the two that are getting the most attention, again, this is all dealing with instant replay. One is reviewing pass interference, and then the other one is reviewing pass interference, roughing the passer, and unnecessary contact against a player in a defenseless position.
I know.
And, of course, this pass interference one is dealing with the NFC Championship game, although there was no foul called on that one. And this
rule wouldn't have changed
it. Would not have changed it. You're correct. It's absolutely right.
You start getting in these judgment calls, and I know they always say you can call holding on every play. I don't like the college rule because in the NFL, if a guy gets behind you, you can grab him. You can also have the quarterback throw a 40-yard bomb, and he gets pass interference, and they put the ball on the 1-yard line. Boy, this is going down a slippery slope. I don't think this will pass.
Well, 24 of 32 teams need to say yes for any of these proposals to pass. And again, the competition committee will meet. There's an expected press conference on Tuesday. But whether anything gets voted up or down next week, I mean, they can still meet later on.
They'll table. Okay,
there's that word, table it.
What happens is owners start working other owners, and they want to find out if they have the votes. If they don't, then they'll table it to try to. They're trying to convince someone, hey, look at this angle. All right, we need one more vote. So they'll table it for more discussion. And like last year, the new kickoff rule. It was only for one season. So if they do implement something new for this season, it would only be an experiment for 1 year, and they can change it next year. So at that point, if you think you're close and it would improve the game, whether it's safety, but I just don't – the NFL, they want these games over in 2 hours and 55 minutes, 3 hours and 3 minutes. They don't want these games bleeding to 3 hours and 15 minutes, whether it's attention span or when you have 9 games in the morning – and then you got your 5 afternoon games when we have a 16-game schedule between Thursday and Sunday and Monday night. They don't want these games going more than 3 hours. And I heard, with the new helmet rule, you're taking, hitting out of the game. And that was overblown totally last year. We had former players saying they're ruining the game. I get it, but it wasn't a big issue. It wasn't a point of emphasis. It was a point of emphasis in the preseason, and there were some questionable calls. I don't know, Craig. Listen, at the end of the day, you got to get the call right. And now, I don't know if you're going to bring this up about the camera.
The Skycam that Alliance of American Football is using. It doesn't sound like there's much support for that.
According to Rich McKay, and he's the one that will address the media when it comes to the competition committee. And he's very intelligent, knows all the rules, which is, when you ask him, he's well aware. He used to have Dean Blandino down there with him, having the press conference along with Goodell. Now it's going to be Alberto Riveron. So, now, even on that play, because no flag was called, they couldn't still change the Saints game.
Yeah.
But it does show clearly either pass interference
or helmet to helmet.
There were actually 2 penalties, and there was a holding penalty on the offensive lines, and that would have offset the penalties. They never even saw that. The left tackle was holding on that play too. So at the end of the day, I want to get calls right, but I just don't know if it's going to take a long time. And the other idea was maybe add an 8th official. That's out. That was discussed in January, and that's out the door. I don't know where he would stand. They took the official that used to stand behind the middle linebacker. They put him now opposite of the quarterback where the other official stands. So, and then do you have somebody else on the field that is talking to upstairs, and they're talking to New York? Because ultimately New York makes these decisions. So there's no perfect scenario. I'd be curious to see some of these rules if they pass. But I am glad that they're bringing it up and they're discussing it, because we dealt with the catch rule for years. We didn't have that kind of controversy last year.
Yeah, judgment calls under review is something that, as you said, it's a slippery slope. By the way, I want to thank the Twitter accounts at NFL Football Ops for
Those are great graphics, too.
Screenshots, graphics, as we will continue to follow this next week from the annual league meeting in Phoenix right here on Cardinals Cover 2 as we broadcast here on this Friday from the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center, and doing so in our Bose QC35s. We always do that. Go to Bose.com for more information. We've talked a few times here on the show about the last time Cliff Kingsbury was in the NFL. That was as a player. Flashback, 2003. Again, Kingsbury the player at the Combine, and now 2019, Kingsbury the head coach at the Combine. That was something that was brought up in the latest edition of Cardinals Flight Plan. But here's a segment that didn't quite make the cut.
Just to see that passion, the excitement, these players that are fulfilling their dream and being a part of this, the nervous energy, just the joy that you feel in those rooms when you're sitting down with them and talking through the process has been a lot of fun. They're trying to pitch you, which has been fun. I forgot all the excitement. It's been phenomenal.
Some of the nights we have to remind him that he doesn't have to be as nice to the kids, because every kid wasn't offered by Texas or Oklahoma. So we're in a pretty good position.
How was he when this worked out here? Do you remember?
Oh yeah. Would you run 4.76?
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
Not
so
bad.
he was good.
Limited.
Yeah. But
limited athletically.
Yeah.
Again, players, no matter how far removed from the Combine, always remember how they did on the Combine, at least as far as, the 40-yard dash, how high they jumped, the L-cone or 3-cone drill.
Well, you remember having
funny.
Robert Alford on the field, and you had to stand in front of him.
Hey, he answered them all of them.
I thought we caught him off guard, and then all of a sudden he maybe was playing possum with us, and then he started detailing every single drill he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that lives with you. I mean, we always talk about it. It's a huge interview, probably the biggest interview these guys will ever have.
Absolutely. The next episode of Cardinal Flight Plan debuts March 28th. And by the way, speaking of that next episode, episode 4, it's titled New Year's Day, and it focuses on free agency. Here's a sneak peek.
First, I want to start, guys, and thank everybody for their input the past few days in the free agency. We took all the input, and I feel like at the end of the day, we did the right thing by putting a Cardinal grade on each player.
This is sort of March Madness in a different way.
The Arizona Cardinals have a big splash, this time at inside linebacker. I'm told they are signing Jordan Hicks.
I believe when I play and I'm healthy, I'm the best linebacker on the field. But at the end of the day, I feel like I have a lot to prove.
The belief here is the pass rush is the key to what Vance Joseph does with his defense.
Arizona is home.
I wasn't going to be playing in Baltimore. I was going to be in Cardinal Red.
It's kind of like riding off to the sunset in a sunset that's familiar to you.
Wouldn't it be cool to go back home and play for the Cardinals?
This is what I was waiting for, man.
You always think about it growing up.
Now it's official, all right?
Playing a lot of games against the Cardinals. I know the atmosphere, and it's a great atmosphere.
It's official.
I'm a Cardinal?
You're a Cardinal.
Here we go,
Congrats. This is
Seeing
awesome.
red, baby. Let's do it.
March 28th is the day, 6 p.m. on Facebook Watch, YouTube, and of course you can catch up with past episodes by going to azcardinals.com/flight plan. 14 additions via free agency, 11 after the new league year. But of course, don't forget about Robert Alford, Brooks Reed, and of course Charles Clay. Those are free agents as well. They just were before the magic date in March.
Yeah, I mean, we work here and we don't see a lot of this stuff. Obviously, it's released after, but I mean, I'm always excited about the next one, and obviously that was a great week for the Cardinals, showing all those faces and all the excitement. It's nice to see, and one of the things that Tim and Dan Nettles do really good is just they give you not only peel the curtains back, but they put you right there, and you think you know something, and you learn something from it. But I also love the music, the background music. Gets me fired up. Kind of like Hard Knocks does. Really.
No, it's very well produced.
I'm a big fan, and a long time ago, our producer, Jimmy Omohundro, he actually downloaded every single NFL music song for me. He did.
Really?
Yeah.
So you could work out to it?
No, they're on CDs now. So I got to somehow upload them I could put them on my iTunes or something like that. But I love NFL music.
It's
just,
certainly
to me, it's distinguishing. You feel like you're right there.
No, yeah, it does. It gets you fired up.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Smear on some war paint and let's go.
Don't do that.
No?
No, don't
no
do
black
that.
eye?
No.
You know they have stickers for black eye now.
I know. If you come walking in doing a show with just one under under the eye.
Yeah, that's the cool look. That's the swag, man. Got to stay up with the, even though I'm 49 years old, you got to stay up with these millennials.
Before we hear from the Bird Gang here on this Friday, it is, well, a Friday. How about we make it a Fitz Friday? Recently, Larry Fitzgerald surprised a 12-year-old Cardinals fan who is fighting a rare disease.
When 12-year-old Caleb arrived at Dave & Buster's early Monday morning, he simply believed he'd have the place to himself. But little did he know he'd have an unexpected visitor that would turn this day into one he'll never forget.
Hi!
Hey.
Oh my goodness!
How are you? Nice to see you, buddy. You doing okay? Yeah? How are you? Good to meet you. Good to meet you.
Caleb's mom passed away in November from Machado-Joseph disease, and a little bit before she passed away, he started showing symptoms of the disease as well. We want to make sure he gets as many good, fun things to do in his life while he still can.
Yeah! It was really rewarding, and I appreciate Dave & Buster's opening their doors an hour early so we can come in and spend some time, quality time alone, and do exactly what he wanted to do for an hour, and that was nice. The only thing I'm sad about is he had to skip school to do it.
As things progress with Caleb, he'll just have something really cool to look back on and remember and dream about again, and he'll be smiling for a long time based off of what happened this morning.
That was so cool.
Yeah. Lisa Matthews on the reporting. Larry Fitzgerald does a number of things in the community, not a lot publicized, but props to number 11, who is always making the right decision and always making people feel good about themselves, bringing a smile to their face, as he did that 12-year-old Caleb. And again, that's
Fitz.
You say typical Fitz, but but it's not typical professional athletes or just people in general.
Or having a camera there.
Correct.
Now, I mean, spend an hour. I mean, it's this off season, and we know nobody travels. I mean, you just can't say enough good things. But I'm not surprised, and that kid will remember that for as long as he's able to live. And our thoughts and prayers are with him and his entire family. But to go to Dave & Buster's and they open up early for him, and 1 hour with Larry Fitzgerald. I mean, you don't even get that kind of time, or me.
No, we don't.
No,
we can't even get him in studio here on Cardinals Cover 2. Still working on that, by the way.
Good luck.
MJ's working on that, by the way.
Again, he's available every Thursday in front of his locker during the season.
All right. Okay. Well,
I'll work on it. We may have to tape it.
That's fine.
Maybe like 6 a.m.
That's fine.
Okay, because he's
tell
up,
me
he's
when.
up early. I'll tell you when I know. I'll
right.
keep you in the loop.
Appreciate that, MJ. All right, let's hear from the Bird Gang. Bird Gang sound off on this Friday using the hashtag CardsCover2. Hashtag CardsCover2, using the number 2 to get involved in the show via social media. Got a couple of questions, all of them concerning the draft. User wants to know, since the Cardinals have signed an interior lineman in Philon and an edge rusher in Suggs, 2 of the top projected picks in the draft, also play those positions, and they reference Quinnen Williams and Nick Bosa. Do you think the Kyler Murray hype will heat up now due to the free agent signings at those positions?
Not at all. Again, I'm just telling you, they haven't made a decision. They haven't even had Murray. We don't know if he's made a visit. I assume Nick Bosa will make a visit. I will assume Quinnen Williams makes a visit. And I think all 3 of those guys are in play. Now, does somebody wow them with a trade? But I would not read into that. They're going to address the best available player that can help this football team, whether it's a defensive tackle or an outside linebacker / defensive end, or if they feel like quarterback's the need, or they feel like maybe he fits Kingsbury's offense more than the other guy and Josh Rosen. But again, at this point in time, I wouldn't read too much into it. This team is trying to get better at every single position.
Yeah, free agency does not predict what happens in the
Not
draft.
if you get a chance to get Williams or Bosa or in case in Murray. No, I mean, they're trying to get better at every single position.
This question, and I don't think it's concerning the number 1 overall pick, but just more of a philosophy on trading down because, as they note, since the Cards use free agency to address the defense, you think they might trade down for more picks?
Again, you need a trade partner. I hear this all the time. I mean, who are you moving up for? Are the Raiders moving up for Kyle Murray? Okay, it's a fair question. Are the Giants trying to move up for Dwayne Haskins? I don't think they got to go to 1 for him. So who is moving up? The Niners can sit there at 2 and take Nick Bosa. The Niners can sit there at 2 and take Quentin Williams. The Jets can trade out of there. Maybe they're the first team that will trade out of there. So, A, who are you moving up for? And B, how much are you giving us? That's the question. So I hear this all the time. Yeah, trade down, get multiple picks. But if you go down to 7, 10, now you're getting the 3rd or 4th best player at that position. Listen, Steve Keim, they have a plan. I don't think we're going to know anything until draft day, until they're on the clock. I think this is the way it's been going, and I don't think anything is going to come out. I could be completely wrong, but I think if I had a guess right now, I think 3 guys are in play for the 1st overall pick. Now, if somebody wants to wow them, who are you moving up for, and how far am I going down? Those are big questions.
Another question along this same lines with the number 1 pick, trading out of it for extra talent, and they add if Josh Rosen doesn't do good this season, then you look for a quarterback in 2020.
That's not the plan.
Yeah, it's.
Listen, I'm willing to ride with Josh Rosen. I get Nick Bosa. I get Quentin Williams. Sign me up. I'm either or. I trust what they're going to do, but let's not have a conversation about another quarterback next year, please.
Should have solved it, you would have thought, last year.
I get it. The circumstances
exactly.
are different. You hired a brand new head coach, and he's obviously got background, and he fits his offense. I'm not saying Josh can't fit his offense with the right coaching. I'm for either or. I trust what the organization is going to do. They know more than I do. I love football, but they've forgotten more football than I know. Again, I'll be happy with Josh in one of these D linemen. I'd be happy with Murray because I know what he can mean for this offense. So I think they got 3 really good options. But tell me who's moving up and who they moving up for.
I'm just putting myself in that position as general manager. I couldn't do it. Made my quarterback decision in 2018. I'm riding with Josh Rosen, and I'm going to try to get the best defensive player that I know will help this team, whether that's Bosa, Williams, or Allen.
I don't disagree, but we got a different canvas now.
I know. I got you.
It's totally different than a year ago. This canvas is totally different. And you can just see how active they've been since Week 16 with Farrell Cooper, DJ Swearinger, how active they were before free agency even started. I mean, they want to get this thing turned around. Now, I don't know if they're an 8-win team. I just know that they want to be more competitive and they want to win some games, especially at home. And then we'll tee it up in December. Where are they at? Are they a 7, 8, 9-win team? Do they need to win a couple more games? Because, 9 wins possibly get you in that playoff picture late in the year. So I don't think you can go wrong with the pick. I'm on board with either or. I really am, because these are 3 really good players, and there's a lot of good players in this draft.
Appreciate the Bird Gang sounding off here on this Friday. We do it every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday using the hashtag CardsCover2. Hashtag CardsCover2 using the number 2 to get involved in the show. And we'll pick up those questions again next week. Again, the big news next week will be the annual league meeting at the Biltmore in Phoenix. We'll be out there kind of getting the lay of the land and see if any news breaks, especially with regards to any rule changes. And, of course, instant replay will be the big topic of conversation. And then on Tuesday, the head coaches are available to the media, the coaches' breakfast. And, of course, we'll make sure that we hear from Cliff Kingsbury on Wednesday's show.
Speaking of the coaches' breakfast, now they do put a great spread out there.
Get there early?
Well, you get there early because Kingsbury is going to be mobbed.
Yes.
With the national media, you got to talk about Kyle Murray, Josh Rosen, all that stuff. So, anyways, it's a good spread. Now, what you're supposed to do is grab breakfast, bring it over to the table, and usually the beat writer that's covering that coach and team, some have to sit there the entire 45 minutes because they don't want to miss anything. Now, I like to jump around. I'll go to Pete Carroll's table. I'll go to Sean McVay's. I'll go to Kyle Shanahan. I like to see what's hearing in the NFC West. Of course, we'll have all the audio. But so are you comfortable eating in front of Kingsbury when he's not eating?
No, I'll either eat before or after.
So
I'm
like,
okay.
I'm
good.
Because if somebody's asking a question, you usually write down the question. So
yeah,
you're good?
I'm there to work.
Yeah, I usually, you know what I do? I eat afterwards.
Yeah. You can buy me breakfast afterwards.
You're going to get a free breakfast.
And with that, we'll have to wait and see on that. Well, with that, we'll wrap up this edition here of Cardinals Cover 2 on this Friday. Special thanks to those behind the scenes, Tim Delaney, Jim Omohundro, Javier Rodriguez, and Jackson Sipes. For Mike Jurecki, I'm Craig Grialou. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday here on Cardinals Cover 2.